Hi, I have a couple minutes before my next client comes in, and I wanted to chat a little bit about some information that's been coming into my office from other providers here in the Low Country. This isn't directed towards any specific provider. I'm hearing it from multiple clients coming in with breech babies, and it's coming from really good intentions, and it's coming from a varying degree of professionals that is ranging from doulas to pelvic PTs to chiropractors. But I've been working with Breech for, oh my goodness, a long time, about 15 years now. And one of the shifts that I'm starting to notice here in the Low Country is everybody is starting to want to get mamas to do these deep pelvic openings and deep lunges, deep squats. One person came in with homework of doing curb walking. So one foot's at the bottom of the curb, the other one's up at the top. And I understand why these are being recommended. Again, coming from a really good, positive place, but not correct. So the idea that is being circulating is that you're creating more space in the inlet of the pelvis. However, the average woman already has a narrowing of the outlet. So I have my little model here, and she's very, very dramatic. She's got these bungees that allow me to move her around in this very dramatic way that nobody's pelvis would really do in real life, but it makes her a really good visual. So the way that women here in the US typically are with heels on, with the way all of our Western chairs are built, the long sitting at work, the long sitting and commuting, all the things that's happening in our daily life already is closing the outlet. If you're doing exercises that often have your toes out, bar class, a Pilates class that spends more time with the toes out than trying to make sure it's even between your toes in, neutral, and out. Things like that is going to narrow the outlet. The way the average prenatal pillow that you're unfortunately paying $150, $200 for narrows the outlet. And then the homework that people are coming in with breech babies that they've already been given are narrowing the outlet. So sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes a baby's choosing breech because they are concerned in their innate wisdom that their head isn't going to fit through this narrowing. So if the average female pelvis is already narrow here, and then we're doing more things to widen here, it's perpetuating the imbalance that is contributing to the alignment issues that might be why the baby is breech. There's a lot of reasons why, but if the baby's choosing breech based on mom's anatomy and not placental location, cord location, length of the cord, or other reasons, we don't want to encourage an disproportionate movement like this. What we want to do is bring balance to the pelvis. So what I would like to talk about are ways that you neutralize the pelvis. So let's talk about why you wouldn't want to do all these openings. So if you're doing deep squats and you're getting this open, you're potentially wedging the hips of that baby further down into your pelvis. If you're doing deep lunges, again, she's super dramatic, right? But if you're doing deep lunges, you're wedging it down and you are potentially wedging in a way that's not symmetrical. If you're doing curb walking, again, my pelvis is super dramatic, but you can visualize your curb walking. This isn't helping the baby turn. This is wiggling that butt or those feet further down into the pelvis. So rather than doing deep openings and then wiggling that butt closer down, you want to bring the pelvis into neutral. Get yourself stabilized in neutral as much as possible. And then you're going to do those inversions to help the butt get out of the pelvis. Once the baby's head is head down and the baby has turned, absolutely do things that get that inlet more open, help that head get down and engage into the pelvis. But I still don't recommend lunges and curb walking because you don't want that head to go in crooked because that's going to show up later in labor. If the head's a little crooked, it's harder to get that head to articulate under the pubic bone. So I repeat, I believe all the information that is currently being shared in Charleston is coming from a place of love and good intent, but it is not actually helping a baby turn head down. So I'm going to link in the bio a direct link to the block and strap homework. So the block and strap homework shows me doing it lying down so that you can see what I'm talking about when I'm asking you to keep your pelvis and your spine in neutral. But while pregnant, you're going to do it seated on a firm chair. So a chair like your kitchen or your dining room chair is perfect. So you'll do everything that I am telling you to do, showing you laying down, but you're going to do it seated. And what the exercise does is it stabilizes this pubic symphysis in the front. When you squeeze the ball or the block, it's going to stabilize this joint. When you're pressing out into the strap, you're stabilizing these joints. It's bringing stability here. It's neutralizing so that the baby feels like they can get through each stage movement as they go through your pelvis. Once you feel like you're getting a feel for that, you can start to bring in all the other amazing things that you might be finding on spinning babies. Or if you decide to come in and work with me, we will customize your homework based on what's going on in your body, specifically where your placenta is located, so you're maximizing those inversions, and make sure that you're doing these movements correctly. And if you come in between 32 and 34 weeks, that gives us time when there's maximum fluid and the baby is small enough that we can hopefully get that baby to decide to turn on their own without needing a further more complicated intervention like an ECV. But sometimes those babies need it. And sometimes those babies just know it's not safe for them to be head down, and we have to trust their innate wisdom. However, other things that also close this outlet, going back to the pillow. So the pregnancy pillow comes in between your knees and then your feet are hanging off. So when you imagine the pillow is in between your knees and your feet are hanging off, it does this to your pelvis. It starts to close it again. And so the way that we're already sitting, the way that we are typically sleeping, the way that our chairs are designed, the way that the seats in our cars are designed, are already putting our pelvis in a position that is opening the inlet. And the way you will know if the lifestyle is contributing to this is why the majority of women have deep hip pain when they're sleeping, and then they have to keep rolling over from that deep ache in their hip, because the way that the pillow is when you're sleeping is pulling on the SI joint at the top. So the bottom one is stable and the top leg starts pulling like this. I love how dramatic she is. And so a couple hours into sleeping, all of this stabilizing anatomy's been strained by the pillow. You wake up with that deep pain. You wake up with deep pain here. You end up rolling over. Now this side is stable, and then this side starts bending here and bending here. And so when I have pregnant clients on my table, we do this. I literally put the pillow only between your knees, and then I do it in a way that stabilizes the joints all the way across, and they can feel that hinging in their hip that happens from what's happening with that pillow position. So it's not too late. You don't have to throw that pillow out. It just may not need to be your number one resource when you are laying for long periods of time, like when you're going to bed at night. I hope this helps, and you can let me know if you have any questions. And I will also link some other things that I have already started creating content-wise, blog-wise, in the description so that you can start to piece all of this together. All right, I hope you have a great day. Thanks.